You want a high-value man to commit, so you become prettier, softer, more desirable. You change how you dress, how you text, how you behave around him. You give him more attention, then less. You try to become more feminine, more understanding, less demanding. And somehow, he still doesn't commit. So what are you actually trying to fix? Because the problem may not be how valuable you are, it may be the man you're trying to convince. And that's where dating advice gets confusing. Because there's a huge difference between being attractive to a man and being compatible with the life he's actually willing to build. And once you understand that difference, the entire way you date can change. Let's start with something that sounds obvious but gets ignored constantly. A man can want you without wanting a relationship with you. He can be attracted to you, he can pursue you, he can text you every day, he can take you on incredible dates, he can sleep with you, he can tell you you're beautiful, he can even tell you, "I've never felt this way before." And none of that, by itself, proves he's ready to build a long-term relationship. Because attraction answers one question: do I want you? Commitment answers another: am I willing to build with you? Those are not the same question. And women sometimes spend months trying to increase the answer to the first question, when the real issue is the second. So before you ask, "How do I make him want me more?" ask, "What does he actually want to do with this connection?" Because a man can want access to you without wanting responsibility for a relationship with you. That's the difference you have to learn to see. Now let's talk about appearances, because social media loves this one. Look expensive. Dress like luxury. Have perfect hair, perfect body, perfect makeup, perfect photographs. And yes, appearance matters. Attraction matters. You should take care of yourself. But there is a huge difference between "this makes me more attractive" and "this makes a man capable of commitment." Those are completely different claims. You can make yourself more physically attractive and still be dealing with a man who doesn't want a serious relationship. And that is where women sometimes get trapped. They think, maybe if I become more desirable, he'll finally choose me. So every time he stays inconsistent, they work on themselves harder. New hair, new clothes, new body, new strategy, new dating rule. Meanwhile, the actual question never gets asked. Does this man want the relationship I'm trying to create? That's where your attention needs to go. The next trap is pressure, and this one needs nuance. There is nothing wrong with communicating what you want. In fact, you should. You should be able to say, "I'm dating for a relationship." That's healthy. But that's very different from trying to pressure somebody into becoming ready. Repeatedly asking, "What are we? When are you going to commit? How much longer am I supposed to wait?" doesn't automatically create genuine willingness. You might get an answer. You might even get a label. But a label obtained under pressure isn't the same thing as two people genuinely choosing the same relationship. What you want is not, "Fine, I'll commit." You want, "I want this too." That distinction matters. This is another place women lose time. He's just busy. His business is taking off. He's healing. He's not ready yet. Give him another 6 months. And sometimes life genuinely is complicated. People do have difficult seasons. But here's the question. Does his life actually have room for the relationship you're asking for? Because sometimes the problem isn't timing, it's lifestyle. If he travels constantly, works every waking hour, lives for nightlife, chases novelty, disappears for weeks, or simply structures his entire life around himself, where exactly is the relationship supposed to fit? He may genuinely like you. He may genuinely care about you. But if his life has no room for partnership, Your feelings don't solve that logistical reality. That's why one line matters so much. It's not enough for him to say he wants commitment. His life has to fit commitment. This is probably one of the most painful ideas women carry. Maybe I'm just not the right woman. So you start improving yourself. More patient, more beautiful, more sexual, more feminine, less emotional, more independent, less needy, more supportive, more understanding. And you're secretly hoping, once I become the right woman, he'll finally commit. But what if he already understands you perfectly? What if he knows you're amazing, and he still doesn't want the same relationship? Then becoming even more impressive won't solve the problem, because you cannot perform your way into another person's willingness. You can become a better version of yourself. That's valuable. But you can't transform incompatibility into compatibility through self-improvement. Sometimes the woman doesn't need to become better. She needs to stop trying to convince the wrong man.
This is one of the simplest tools you have while dating. Look at the pattern, not to judge him, to understand him. What do his previous relationships look like? Were they stable? How long did they last? Why did they end? Does he take responsibility for his part? Has he repeatedly disappeared when relationships became serious? Has he repeatedly cheated? Has he repeatedly promised commitment and then backed away? Has he never maintained a long-term relationship? Again, history doesn't make someone permanently incapable of change. People can change. But history is still information. And you don't want to ignore a 5-year pattern because of a 5-week honeymoon. That's where attraction gets dangerous. You start judging someone by potential instead of evidence. And potential is incredibly easy to fall in love with. Now let's look at the woman's side. Sometimes a woman doesn't stay because the relationship is good. She stays because being single feels frightening. I'm getting older. I want children. Everyone else is getting married. What if I leave and never meet anyone better? And suddenly, fear starts making the decisions. You see inconsistency. You explain it. You see disrespect. You rationalize it. You see mixed signals. You wait. You see that he doesn't want the same relationship. And instead of accepting that information, you start asking, how do I make him want it? That is when the desire to be chosen becomes stronger than the desire to be well treated. And once fear starts driving your dating decisions, you can become very patient with things you would never recommend to your best friend. Here's another uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the man who gives you the strongest emotional reaction is not the man who is most compatible with you. Think about the difference. You don't know where you stand. You don't know when he'll text. You don't know how he feels. You don't know whether he's getting closer or pulling away. So you're thinking about him constantly. And because you're thinking about him constantly, you may start calling that intensity chemistry. Then a stable man comes along. He communicates. He follows through. He calls when he says he will. He makes time. You know where you stand. And suddenly you're thinking, why don't I feel the same spark? Maybe because you're not spending all your emotional energy trying to figure him out. That doesn't automatically mean the stable man is right for you. It means something important. Intensity is not proof of compatibility. A committed relationship requires partnership. That means the man can consider another person's needs. He can make decisions with somebody else in mind. He doesn't need every interaction to become a power struggle. He doesn't have to win every disagreement. He can hear, "I don't like that," without translating it into, "You're disrespecting me." He can accept feedback. He can repair. He can compromise. and he can still have strength. Because partnership doesn't mean one person disappears. It means two people are actually building the same thing. Let's clear this up because the internet has made this unnecessarily confusing. Being feminine does not mean becoming powerless. It doesn't mean never disagreeing. It doesn't mean keeping quiet. It doesn't mean letting somebody make every decision. And it definitely doesn't mean tolerating disrespect. What I mean by secure femininity is much simpler. You can be soft because you don't feel like you have to protect yourself every second. You can receive. You can trust. You can let a trustworthy man take initiative. You can still say no. You can still have a voice. You can still have boundaries. Security isn't the absence of standards. It's the absence of constant fear. And you cannot create that security with the wrong person. So let's go back to the original question. How do I make a high-value man commit? You don't. And that is actually the good news. Because once you stop trying to manufacture commitment, you can start recognizing it. You stop asking, what do I need to become? And start asking, what is he already showing me? You stop turning potential into evidence. You stop changing yourself every time he moves the goalpost. You stop trying to earn a relationship from someone who keeps giving you uncertainty. And instead, you evaluate. Does he want the same thing? Does his life support it? Does his history support it? Do his actions support it? Does he treat you with respect? Can he communicate? Can he be consistent? Can the two of you actually build together? That's the real dating skill. Not becoming irresistible. Learning to recognize compatibility. And maybe the most painful realization is this. Sometimes you're not trying to become a better woman. You're trying to become more convincing to a man who has already shown you he doesn't want the same thing. So you keep improving. He keeps hesitating. You keep explaining. He keeps delaying. You keep asking, what else can I do?
And eventually, the better question becomes, why am I working this hard to convince someone to choose a relationship he hasn't chosen? Because you don't need to become perfect enough to earn commitment. You need enough clarity to recognize whether the person standing in front of you is actually capable of giving it. Attraction can start a relationship, but commitment requires willingness, consistency, compatibility, effort, and two people choosing the same future. So don't just look for a high-value man. Look for a high-value relationship. Tell me honestly, what matters more to you for long-term commitment? Status, attraction, or consistency? Put your answer in the comments and subscribe for more relationship psychology.